Hello, everyone, and welcome. I'm Gabriela Cubeiro. I'm the co-founder and CEO of CASEpeer. We're the highest rated case management software for personal injury law firms, and I'm really excited to be here with you all today to talk about 5 ways that CASEpeer streamlines intake, helping you sign the cases you want and giving you deeper insights into your business. Take a minute really quick on the right-hand side to find the question or chat box. I will be monitoring that throughout the webinar, and of course at the end, if you have any questions, we'll run through those as well. So one of my favorite things about building technology for plaintiffs attorneys is that you guys get excited about efficiency. I know how much many of you invest in marketing or invest in relationships that drive the growth of your business. And so again, providing you with the tools to do that better is something I get very excited about. So let's jump into what we're going to be talking about today. We're highlighting 5. Of course, there's many more, not just in intake, but across the spectrum of your cases. But today we're talking about lead integrations that we have in CASEpeer, texting with prospective clients, our intake management dashboard, and I couldn't resist to touch a little bit on reports there as well, automated task workflows, and our integrated ESignature functionality. So first and foremost, lead integrations, right? So what do I mean by that? Let's dive in. So with lead integrations, we're talking about aggregating all of your prospective leads in your practice management software, or at the very least, all in one place. Right? So tracking leads and connecting them quickly is essential for plaintiff injury law firms, right? Most firms will have many different ways of aggregating leads or collecting leads, right? Website forms, chat box, Facebook forms, and so much more. And in CASEpeer, we have several native integrations. So that means integrations with specific services like alert communications or engage live chat or client chat live that will stream those leads directly into CASEpeer with notifications. And then we also have a great integration with Zapier, which opens up essentially limitless options in terms of the way that you can bring those leads into CASEpeer. So again, Facebook forms, which a lot of people do, woodpecker forms, Gravity forms on your website, a Google form, whatever other tools that you use to capture leads, you can bring those in. It's one place for your intake team to go. It means that you're going to get deeper marketing insights by collecting those leads, and it makes it easier eventually to track that attribution to lead from case. It's really easy to turn leads into cases with CASEpeer, and it's going to populate information from that lead directly into that case. So if you've got first name, last name, it'll automatically populate those as you convert that lead into a case as well. And again, it's also going to be the first step to unlocking trends and patterns. I'm all about great marketing insights, and that's a really key one. And generally, peace of mind that every one of your leads is going to be followed up on. So why track every lead? I talk to a lot of law firms in a year. I talk to a lot of successful law firms that still use paper to track their intakes. And even people who use CASEpeer prolifically, I talk to a lot of firms that don't capture every prospect in CASEpeer and only use it for tracking their cases. So if they don't sign a case, a lot of times those are going into the ether. And so here's why it's so important to track every lead. First of all, you ensure that every lead is being followed up on effectively, right? Your firm may be aggregating leads from 5 or 10 different places, right? Having them all come into your CMS, into your case management software is going to give you peace of mind that every prospect that reaches out to your firm gets the attention and evaluation they truly deserve, right? It's going to also help you track performance of marketing campaigns. So tracking performance isn't just about how many cases you sign or how many fees those cases generate, although that's also very important, right? It's valuable to know your firm's average conversion rate on certain campaigns. That means it's not enough to just track the clients that you sign in CASEpeer. You also want to track every prospect and know, hey, we rejected 30% of these, but at least it's looking at the big picture, right? And it also is the first step for you to remarket to prospects that you pass on. Leads that you're going to reject or pass on today because maybe they don't meet your criteria. They were in a car accident, but they were at fault, or they were injured, that are saying, I have absolutely no pain, I refuse to treat, right? That's not a case you're going to be able to take. But that doesn't mean that they're not going to have another potential case in a month or a year, or maybe their mother gets into an accident tomorrow. And they think, oh, I just spoke to somebody great. And now if they call back or a friend refers them, you're going to have their information in CASEpeer again in one place. They picked you once. And if you keep your firm top of mind, they're likely to pick you again. And that's another important thing. So a lot of our firms, for example, will use our integrations with MailChimp or with Zapier as an in-between to add prospects and of course clients into their email list. So now they're getting your newsletter and they're hearing about all the great things you're doing in the community, and you're keeping top of mind, right? Which is very important. All right, so next one, you have the prospect on the hook. Let's talk about texting. Okay, this is something I'm very passionate about. I think texting is just, of course, the future. Nowadays, most people, especially young people, are more comfortable texting than they are talking on the phone. I'm sure many of you joining us today might even have ways to just have prospects text a number and text in versus or text with your answering service versus picking up the phone. So this really allows you to communicate seamlessly via text. So a little bit about the way that texting works in CASEpeer. So first of all, it's really easy to get set up when you get started with CASEpeer, and you get to choose your texting number, which is really important, your area code, things like that. CASEpeer's texting functionality supports lead management and nurture in a lot of different ways. Follow-ups and status updates, the ability to text CFAs or contracts for signature. Of course, you can still email those the old-fashioned way, but being able to text those to people that maybe don't have an email or don't have a computer and they're more comfortable texting and they can sign right from their phone, that's really important. You can also text an intake form for the client to fill out with more case and index information. That saves time on data entry. Of course, there's a layers in there that allow you to review before saving and updating the information on their case files. And we're one of the only softwares that saves the photos that client texts right into their case. So especially in the intake process, that is super valuable. They text those photos of property damage. If that case then needs to go to an intake review by a higher up attorney, something like that, those photos are already saved. And you'll see that a lot of the things that I highlight today are also about efficiency, right? Intake team, depending on the volume you do, your intake person, your intake team, they're busy. So throughout the intake features that we're talking about today, there's a lot of efficiency drivers, whether it's automation or quick shortcuts to action on things so that you can move on and answer the next call or address the next lead form submission that's come in, right? All right, so let's go ahead and talk about why texting is so important. If you follow our webinars, I like talking about texting a lot. There's still a shocking amount of firms that are not open to texting with their clients. I'm sure none of you joining today, but if you are, I'm here to convince you that that it's just the bee's knees, so to speak. Okay, so first of all, the average American texts twice as much as they call today, right? And so that's looking at all American adults. 81% of Americans text regularly. And I love this stat that 90% of texts are read within 3 minutes of being received, right? When we launched texting originally back in 2017, I think, the big thing was having attorneys reach out saying, oh my gosh, we had these clients we couldn't get a hold of, we couldn't pay them out, we couldn't get them to agree to a release. We'd been trying them for months and months, in some cases a year, and we texted them and they got back to us in 5 minutes. So again, for a lot of people, if they're busy, depending on their job, texting really is the best way to get a hold of them and communicate, and whether they're a client or if they're in that intake pipeline. The other piece here, I love this stat: 45% of texts receive a response, and the average response time is 90 seconds. That's wild. And then I like this stat as well. On average, Americans check their you. Gosh, if they were tracking me, it's not just for the young. So for people between the ages of 50 and 69, text messaging has overtaken email as the communication tool most used to stay connected. So you might be emailing them information, you're going to be calling them, leaving them voicemails, but if you can't reach them, texting is just another great way to immediately stay in touch. And all this goodness to I highlight, it's free with CASEpeer, every CASEpeer account. There's no add-on for your texting. It's just such an important feature. We've built it into our base package. Let's see. So using CASEpeer's texting functionality is also a layer of accountability. I think about accountability a lot. I think it's very important for firms, especially as you grow and as you scale. You're always going to know who communicated what to the client and when. You can set who assigned to the prospective or retained case is going to receive those text message notifications. So you have peace of mind that there's multiple eyes and that the client gets a response when they need it. And also outbound text to the client update in CASEpeer, the last client communication date, which is a key component of knowing how often and when the last time you spoke to that client or communicated to that client was. And again, peace of mind, knowing that any of those photos a prospective client sends is going to end up to their in their case, and that's what we're showing here on the slide. So accountability is a good way to transition over to our intake management dashboard. So our intake management dashboard is essentially the go-to place where intake workers or intake attorneys and intake managers or firm owners, whoever's involved or reviewing that process, can go to see what's happening currently in the state of your firm. So first of all, it's clear oversight for all of your pending leads, right? It first, front and center, it's got the last touch date and time, because we all know that the sales cycle on a personal injury or essentially most contingency fee leads very short. So we want to make sure that you're keeping that time in mind as well and following up regularly. Right? It gives you the ability to filter by intake worker. So, of course, if you're a larger firm, you're going to have 5, 10, however many people working your intakes, working your phones. You're going to want to be able to hammer down and narrow down and see what each individual person is out up to. Maybe someone's out sick. They get the stomach bug. They have to be out for a day. Unexpectedly, you're going to be able to pick up where they left off very seamlessly. And that's really important as well. The other component is the ability to track prospects pending for signature. I know it's a little small in that screenshot, but you can quickly jump to prospective clients that are in the signing process and follow up with those maybe differently than you're following up on the ones that are still up in the air. Okay. And then the other thing that you can kind of see actually on the next screen is that we do have, I have this later, I'll jump into that, but we do have a quick action menu for efficiency built into these intake management dashboards and quite frankly, all of our reports. And I'll touch on that in a little bit. So at a glance, I like to pose these questions because uh, how you answer might give you better insight into how you're doing things now and if it's working for you. So, do you know how many active leads your firm currently has in the pipeline? Do you know how many leads each person is working? Right? Is someone overloaded? Is someone maybe not closing enough and they're getting stuck with higher volume? Are you distributing these leads fairly? Do you know the last time a lead was contacted? And by a lead, I mean every single lead in your pipeline. And the short of it is that you should know all these things, right? And if you can't look that up at a glance, you definitely do want to take a look at what you're doing for intake now and making sure that you're setting your intake team for success. And again, you're best serving your clients or prospective clients by increasing your efficiency and oversight. But of course, you're also serving your business interests and making sure that your investment in marketing, in your website, in your relationships on referrals are paying off, and that you're not letting that investment go to waste. So here's a little snapshot of that quick shortcut guide I was talking about. So it's all about using that dashboard to work efficiently. And from that intake management dashboard here, you can see your intake team has shortcuts to be able to quickly send an e-signature request or reject that case. Because again, we want to capture those cases. We want to know why we rejected them. Being able to quickly assign a follow-up task without opening the case. Not only is that something intake workers use, but it's something managers can use really quickly as well to say, hey, what's going on? Time to follow up on this case, right? So those are some things to see there. Looks like we've got a question coming in as well. Oh yeah, so MailChimp's asking for an API code. I love it, Margie, you're on it. So if you go to your account settings, under the gear icon, click on account settings, scroll all the way down to integrations. You'll see a little card down in the integration section that has the MailChimp icon. If you click into that, it'll give you your MailChimp API key. So you can jump into there and get started that way. And if you go to our help center too, we've got great instructions on how to use that integration as well. So beyond the dashboard, I couldn't resist to include some reports. So CASEpeer has a series of intake and marketing reports that allow you to see conversion rates by intake person or by marketing source. One of the key benefits to having intake integrated into your case management system is the insights that come from the lifetime of the case. For example, the ability to get an ROI on a case once those fees come in. Another reporting piece that I like to highlight that a lot of firms, especially volume firms, worry about in intake is statutes. So in CASEpeer, as soon as you create a prospective case in CASEpeer, so as soon as you take that raw lead, convert it into a case, start collecting information on it, whether you choose to reject it later or not, we start sending notifications on any looming statute deadlines, and they're going to populate on our upcoming statute report. So if you have somebody call in, it's an auto accident and say in California, depending on the information you're collecting on that case, you may not know the defendant type. So we're going to default to like a standard private party statute. If you do know it's a public entity, indicate that, but it's automatically going to calculate those statutes and trigger those reminders. So if you have anyone reaching out to your intake team with a looming statute, they're going to know that right away. And that's really important. And it gives our firms tremendous peace of mind. And that kind of automation actually streamlines really perfectly over into our automated task workflows. So automated tasks, of course, these serve our firms throughout the life cycle of a case, but they're very important on intake. And then in those, first week or two, where there's a lot of data collection and things happening on those converted clients. But essentially, it allows you to streamline the intake process with very clear tasks. Tasks in our workflows in CASEpeer, which we call case plan, trigger by case status changes. Or the creation of a new case. So the case hits intake, there's going to be a bunch of different things that happen. Or if a case transitions to intake review because maybe you need an attorney to evaluate the case, or maybe liability looks funky and you just want another opinion, that could trigger a series of tasks, right? And certainly once the case goes through into the converted status, then you can also track things as well. So it also will assign tasks by user roles. So some of you that are on other softwares that have similar things, a lot of times it's not affected by case status, or these tasks live on the case, but they don't necessarily have people assigned. So for example, in CASEpeer, the minute you convert a lead into a case or just add in a new case automatically, you could, and save it, you could trigger a series of tasks that need to be completed by the intake worker assigned on that case, and essentially work off the time. Here's what you should be doing today. Here's what you need to be doing tomorrow, and so on. Okay. Deadlines can also calculate from key dates. So you could have something trigger off of an intake date, or you could have something trigger off of the statute date, for example, if you wanted additional reminders that you may not have now. You can also mark these tasks as urgent. I think that's really important. You might have some that are less important than others, and being able to flag the ones that are, bring those to the top of the task management list, mark it in red. That's super valuable. And a key component of this too is, as a manager, it's really easy to track task completion. Not only is all the task activity tracked and automatically saved into the notes record of the case, if you've assigned tasks or you've created automatic task workflows or triggered those on a case, you're going to get notifications about those tasks getting completed, which is super valuable as well. So, again, layers of accountability and oversight. So, why automate those tasks? So, it definitely helps establish a clear process for those leads, lead management, and retention, right? We want to make sure that client is prospects being heard, that you're following up enough to win that client and bring them on board, and then retention in those early days, making sure you're checking off all the boxes, getting everything done. Because we all know, if you've been in this business long enough, that first week, you need to make sure that you're on top of things, that the client feels like you're in great control in their case. Otherwise, they might keep shopping it around, because if they reached out to more than one attorney, they're probably still getting calls, and at the back of their mind, a little percentage of them is keeping their options open. A key component of this too is delivering a consistent client experience. You have one client that comes in, they get one intake person. Oh my gosh, this is just the best firm ever. Love this firm, so great. They refer a friend, maybe they end up having the phone picked up by somebody else, and that person isn't calling them back enough. They're not getting the touch and the love that they need. Not only does that do a disservice to your business, but now, again, referrals are the best thing possible for your firm. You got to treat them like gold, and consistent client experience is the best way for you to nurture those relationships and really deliver on them exponentially. Because once you have two happy friends, that whole friend group is coming to you, or whole family's coming to you, right? It's also easier to train new employees, whether you're bringing on someone new in intake, or even if they have previous intake experience, clarifying kind of what your process is like at the firm with these automated tasks. It makes things a lot easier to bring that employee on board, and it also takes some of the burden off your team, at least to some degree, right, of bringing that person up to speed. Accountability. I don't know how many times I've already said it. This isn't even a webinar on accountability, but it's very important. And it's got the key steps of every case, or during that intake phase, right? Making sure that you know who's doing what, they know what's expected of them, and that they're actioning on it appropriately. And fundamentally, building in automated task workflows and setting these expectations up, it's essential for scaling and growing your business. So if you're a 3 to 5 person firm, you've had the same staff for 15 years, you're not looking to hire, everyone kind of knows what's expected of them. You might still want that accountability piece. You might still want to be able to later point in CASEpeer to, hey, here's, maybe you have a client that feels like you didn't do enough. Those tasks create a really great record of all of the things that had all the work that's gone into your case. But again, if you're looking to grow, or if you're going to have employee turnover, you're going to want to have automated tasks built in to whatever system you use, whether it's CASEpeer or anything else. Here's an insight, just a quick snapshot of our task management screen with, you can see those urgent tasks. And again, we've got a little preview of our quick shortcut menu that we have in all of our reports and management screens. The ability to complete here with a note, complete with time if you do time tracking, and other actions here within our task management page. That brings us to last, but certainly not least, because getting that signature from the client is probably the most important part of an intake process. It brings us into our integrated ESignature functionality. Now, this is a component that is an add-on. It's very reasonably priced. It's by firm, so it's not anything that is a per user cost. So I definitely encourage you to look into that if you are interested in CASEpeer. The integrated e-signature functionality just has so many benefits, and time saving built in, and all the nice accountability features as well. So essentially, our goal when we built this out was to make signing a client faster and easier than ever before, right? So if we take a look, you can see here, you can quickly send an e-signature request. You can either use a template, which if you've got a CFA that you use, that's what most people do. They will have a different CFA for a minor, things like that. Or if you're the type of firm that prepares something by hand and for each client, certainly that's something you might use later on in the case. You would just upload your file to this case and then customize from there. So the key part of this is that you can send it by email or you can send it by text or both. So lots of different ways to be able to pass these on to your clients, your prospects. And it can populate with content from CASEpeer. So if you've got the client's name, their age, their date of birth, maybe their social, depending on what you might have on your contingency fee agreement or your contract, you can actually place fields into a template that will populate that information directly into the document that's then sent out for signing, accident type, all that stuff. So that can really save your team time when they're sending these CFAs out. It, of course, can support multiple signers and your assigned preferred signer order, right? So again, a lot of times contingency fee agreements are countersigned by the partner of the firm. You're going to be able to do that, of course, with the e-signature functionality. Key component of this is checking the status of pending requests, being able to resend or remind someone that there is a request pending. You'll be able to do all of that. And I'll show you on the next screen, we do have an e-signature management screen as well that allows you to sort of see all of the contracts that you have that are up in the air. And I do want to highlight it's powered by HelloSign. So it is HelloSign's now part of the Dropbox family. It's just one of the key leaders in electronic signature functionality, and we've been really happy with our partnership with them. Here's a screenshot of that e-signature management screen that you can see. Again, I did want to highlight those nice shortcuts. You can cancel or delete that request. You can refresh it, which might just double check status. Did we get a signature? And then, or send a reminder. And then a couple things I want to highlight too is just like with photos, as soon as that document is signed and fully executed, not only are copies emailed out to all the signers, so your client will automatically get their copy, but it will also automatically save that into the case. So it's not an extra step that your team is going to do, which they would if it was something that was external. So it'll always live in your case management system. So that brings us to the end. Those are just 5 of the ways that CASEpeer helps drive efficiency in intake. And I love this picture because I know a lot of firms that are taking their intakes on the sticky notes or on the legal pad, and then hopefully shredding them later, or at the very least crumpling them up and putting them away. So if your intake looks a lot like this, which hopefully it doesn't, but if it does, whether it's CASEpeer or it's anything else, I recommend finding a better tool for that. You want to track every lead, and you want to make sure that you're able to evaluate those things at a glance that I highlighted. How many leads are in your pipeline, who's working them, and when's the last time they were touched. Those are all very important takeaways. If there's anything that I leave you with today, let it be those things. So, we really founded CASEpeer with a vision that every firm can maximize its human potential and that every injured client would receive the best care and the best possible results. And that really does start at the intake process, not just for the client's experience, but of course for everything that drives your business. So that's a wrap. And these are just 5 of the reasons that CASEpeer is the #1 rated case management software for personal injury law firms. I've shared a couple client quotes here, but of course, you can find case studies on our website at casepeer.com. And you can certainly book time to speak with a knowledgeable member of our team on our website as well. So if you have any follow-up questions, please feel free to reach out to me directly. You can definitely reach out to me either through our website or my email, which is gabriela@casepeer.com. I love talking intake. I love talking marketing for law firms. So we're here as a resource. And thank you so much, everyone, for joining me. And I wish you a wonderful day. We'll see you at the next time.